We're here on 5 Minute Friday today to talk about school climate and culture and the passage of Senate Bill 1, which this week is on the governor's desk for signature. I have Rachel Belin here with me, our Student Voice Team Director, to talk a little bit about our Student Voice Team's work on Senate Bill 1 and the importance of the school safety bill. Rachel, can you share a little bit about the students' participation in the working group and their thoughts on the school safety bill?
I would be happy to. So Senate Bill 1 was a bipartisan victory. One of those beautiful things that you can rarely claim these days, but a bipartisan victory nonetheless. In it is Kentucky's way of addressing school safety. And what's so exciting about this bill is a number of things. One, it takes a very holistic approach to school safety so that Kentucky is responding to the horrors of Marshall County and Parkland in the last year with not just an approach that hardens schools but also softens schools. So not just a response with defensive measures, putting in metal detectors, trying to keep weapons out of school, but also a response that acknowledges the role of mental and social health and well-being in schools. So adds counselors and school resource officers and mental health supports. Students played a real role in the development of this legislation. As you know, we're very excited. We had one of our members, a high school student, Nassim Mohammed Zeta, who served on the school safety working group and worked with legislators to bring more student voice and perspective into the development of this bill. And we've been speaking with legislators throughout this session to help refine it. We were thrilled last night when the House made some adjustments to the Senate bill and made sure that it was a requirement that students were included in the school safety plans at the local level.
And this is a great example of a bill that the Pritchard Committee supported in its original filing all the way through the process, but that the Student Voice Team really led our participation in that bill. So it's a great example of students and adult allies working together around an important issue. Rachel, talk a little bit about school climate and culture. It's a strategic priority for the Pritchard Committee, and the Student Voice Team is leading that work in school climate and culture. Why is it so important, and what exactly are the students doing in that space?
So we have been very interested in the issue of school climate and culture for several years now. The Student Voice Team has led, as you know, school climate audits, student-led school climate audits throughout the state, where we're talking to students and teachers and parents about the elements of a school system that makes it feel safe, engaging, and inclusive, so that students can learn at high levels. We're looking at things like student and staff relationships, student relationships with each other. We're looking at the physical environment of a school building, all of the things that are not captured necessarily in a standardized test, but that make a school an environment where students want to be and want to learn. And so these audits led us to understand that when we're talking about this idea of school safety, we also have to be thinking about climate and culture. And the research really bears us out. The National School Climate Center, for example, has done a meta-analysis of 30 years worth of research in this field and found that there is a direct correlation between school climate and culture, positive school climate and culture, and learning, academic success. In addition, as if that weren't enough, there's a direct connection between a positive school climate and culture and learning at high levels for students of all backgrounds, including students who historically fall into academic achievement gap groups. So school climate is where it's at. It's so critically important when we're thinking about school safety and culture.
And what I hear you saying is school climate and culture is an equity issue then. If we're going to continue to pursue excellence with equity in Kentucky, then school climate and culture is critical. The learning environment and how students experience the learning environment is so important. And in fact, the committee has known that for many years with research done particularly in Jefferson County over 10 years ago. But this time what's really different is students are leading the conversation. They're leading the conversation in our schools, and they're leading the conversation at the state level regarding the importance of climate and culture. So the last thing I want to talk about today, Rachel, is a bill that we saw kind of later in the session that the students are watching. It has a bearing on school climate and culture, and that's the fact that Kentucky still allows corporal punishment in some of our schools. And so House Bill 202 was filed. What did the students think about that bill?
So believe it or not, 17 counties in Kentucky still allow corporal punishment in schools. Students in Louisville who are not members of the Pritchard Committee, the student voice team, brought this issue to our attention as they were testifying last week in support of this bill to ban corporal punishment in Kentucky public schools. We, as a group, feel very strongly that this is critical to get it out of our schools. There is no way you can have a positive school climate when students are worried about their physical safety. Forget outside threats, but within their own school, coming from authority figures like teachers and administrators. So this is an issue we're going to continue to watch. The team wrote a letter of support for the bill that we sent to the bill sponsors this week, and if it's not heard this session, we're going to continue to beat this drum for as long as it takes to eliminate corporal punishment from our schools. We feel like that is an essential issue when you're talking about school safety and climate. Get rid of corporal punishment.
So another exciting area where students are really leading the way with adult allies behind them, beside them, and we're proud to be those adult allies with the Pritchard Committee Student Voice Team, and proud to have the students alongside other students in the state. Climate and culture is a strategic priority for the Pritchard Committee. You can find out more about our strategic plan and more about these issues on our website at pritchardcommittee.org.